Hey everyone, welcome back to the Multi-Dimensional Journey. This is your host, Sarai, and today we're going to be going over all things somatic experiencing. So, whether you're a healer, a coach, or a therapist, or someone who's just on a healing path yourself, we're going to be going over all the ins and outs of somatic experiencing today. So, if you don't know, somatic experiencing is actually a 3-year long training in order to become a fully certified practitioner, which is a pretty long time, right? So, today I'm going to try as best as I can to distill everything I've been learning the last 2.5-ish years. I am currently in my 3rd year. I'm almost done with that 3rd year. And I'm going to basically pull back the curtain of somatic experiencing and the world of somatic experiencing so you can understand it a little bit more. And for those who are interested in to dive a little bit deeper, whether you're a practitioner or a seeker yourself, I have made a beginner friendly free somatic experiencing course for you so you can begin to learn the basics. So in terms of what we're trained in the program, we're just going to start there, right? Because it all starts with the basics. And I've read lots of comments online, Reddit threads. Everyone feels like the basics are really boring. But essentially, somatic experiencing in the beginning, you know, is going really, really slow with the nervous system. That's what somatic experiencing is. It's a body based, nervous system based. Partially, one of its theories is polyvagal theory that was created by Dr. Peter Levine. And so I like to give the analogy to kind of fast track the understanding of it. If you were going to go see a personal trainer, to build capacity, to build muscle, right, to lift things, they wouldn't stick you under a 200-pound squat rack in even the first month or even the second month, right? You would slowly, progressively build your capacity over time. This is really what somatic experiencing is. And no matter what you're working on, right? Some of us come to somatic experiencing. A lot of you know me from my psychedelic work, specifically with ayahuasca. Great for psychedelic preparation and integration, somatic experiencing. Some of you are wanting to heal past traumas. Some of you are wanting to be more embodied as a therapist or a coach to help your clients. So, the long story short, basically, with somatic experiencing is that it's really a body based approach. It's not talk dominant, it's not story dominant, it's not content dominant. It's kind of like getting all the way to the root in terms of the nervous system. That's really the main focus of the work, right? Is helping the nervous system discharge, deactivate, and complete trapped survival energy, right? What does that mean, right? So, specifically when there's trauma, right? It gets trapped in the system. Some of you who are EMDR trained will understand this right away. But essentially, how it works is in our memories, if certain things were traumatic, the energy will get trapped and it will get stuck. And essentially, it's just hanging in the background like this. And so, I'm really trying not to lose you here. So, stay with me. That essentially, when you're tracking sensations, emotions, different parts of somebody, when you're going into the memory, when you're going into the story, when you're going into the trigger, right? You're not tracking what the person's saying, you're tracking what the body is saying. And the moment that you start to see things organized in the system, you go nice and slow, you help people pause, you help people resource, but essentially the goal is to eventually help them release the trapped energy. Like I said, that does not happen right away. So here are the basics that I go over in depth in the somatic starter kit. Is number one, we build the counter vortex. What does that mean? I'm using a bunch of somatic experiencing language. So, like I said, I was going to pull back the curtain for you guys. So counter vortex is the opposite of trauma vortex. Trauma vortex sucks somebody in, right? It's like, oh, right, you feel swallowed. Anyone gotten triggered before? You understand what I'm saying? So counter vortex is the opposite, that we help the nervous system access presence through felt sense, and which is a feeling state. It's a sensory feeling state. It's the sensory motor system. And so we spend a lot of time doing resourcing. In the Somatic Starter Kit, I go lots of exercises for inner resourcing and counter vortex. The other thing we learn is titration and pendulation. So titration, for those of, well, I'll use the fitness analogy again, but like 1 week you go up 5 pounds, the following week you go up another 5 pounds. Notice how I'm not saying 25 pounds this week, 25 pounds next week. For you psychedelics folks, right? This is what we call microdosing. So this is really it's from an energy level, right? This is the titration, what I like to call somatic load. So we're not loading someone, we're not going in saying like, tell me about the worst thing you've ever been through, right? No, we're not doing that. We're starting off with counter vortex, and then, once we've built enough resourcing, we're starting to work with little bits of activation. That's the titration piece. And then pendulation. Once they reach, like, maybe it's like the barista didn't do their drink right. This is just an example. Low level activation, maybe a little bit of frustrations coming online. Okay, what are you noticing in your system? I'm noticing a tightening in my chest. I notice like kind of like okay, great. Notice that. Feel it, feel it, feel it. And now, you know, either it dissipates, right? Or, noticing going back to the room, orienting, noticing your feet on the ground, etc., etc. Trying to give you real-time examples here. Unlike somatic experiencing, we're moving quick in this video. So that's essentially it, right? So just if you times 10 the barista that didn't get their coffee right, you'd probably end up with another, like, more activating experience. And this shows up in all sorts of ways with people, right? If you're a practitioner, it shows up in relationships. It shows up in someone starting their business. It shows up in their partnership, in their parenthood. And I think that's the thing in all the things. The things that I've really have been kind of realizing is like, wow, this nervous system thing, it just touches on everything. It really is applicable to trauma, to stress, to relationship, to being a better leader, all these different things. So I think it's a great practice for lots of people, no matter what's your background, and it's always meeting your system where you're at. So those are just some of the basics, right? So it's a lot of building that counter vortex, learning how to feel into titration or little bits of activation, learning pendulation, which means going into activation and coming out of it, which is all nervous system based, right? And then, of course, all of this, what's happening with all of this, the through line, I would say, is somatic tracking. Yeah. So we're really wanting to get familiar with the nervous system's organization, through low levels of activation, because it's so much easier to learn something new. Um, and if you were super stressed out, basically, like if you were like, I'm going to work on something in 8 out of 10 activation, it might feel too overwhelming to learn a completely new skill. That's what the building capacity over time is all about. So if you're interested in any of this, you're like, huh, interesting, the somatic tracking, and like, so like I said, like in my somatic starter kit, I go over all of that. I go over how to somatically track. I go over the titration more, the pendulation, the counter vortex, and some skills to start applying. And like I said, no matter what, if you're a healer, a coach, a therapist, if you're a seeker yourself, no matter what you're currently working on, this can be so helpful to start applying either with your clients, um, or yourself. Personally, as a practitioner, I always like to practice on myself. Always, before sharing it with somebody else. It just makes it so much more insightful, right? Because I've gone through it myself. So I'll leave the link for it somewhere up here in the YouTube video. And then slowly over time, depending on what someone's wanting to work on, right? And it could be anything. It could be um, wanting to feel safer or wanting to help the nervous system feel safer as this person starts a new business. It's the mom who wants to feel more grounded when their child is screaming at them. It's the person who is learning how to facilitate, large breathwork groups, but they can feel their nervous system feel kind of shaken with it. It's the person who has done a lot of psychedelic work and they're still working on some of their childhood patterns and discharging their survival energy, and really so much more. Like these are just the themes I see in my own practice, right? So just know, no matter what it is, we all have a fight, flight, freeze, and fawn system within us. And if we can kind of help work with our nervous system to help it feel safer, that's a really big deal. I mean, we're talking, just feeling more agency and empowerment in your own life. So I hope you liked this video. I hope you enjoy the Somatic Starter Kit. And for those of you who've been around here on YouTube on my channel for a while, this is probably the first video I've posted in such a long time. And it's really because this whole thing I've been going through, as I've been doing my somatic experiencing training, my holotropic breathwork training, and really I'm shifting a lot of things to more somatic experiencing work, breathwork. It's not that I'm never going to talk about a psychedelic again, but essentially we are expanding the vision. It was very narrow with my ayahuasca practice. Um, but hey, that's how things go. So thank you so much for being here. And like I said, you can go ahead and either click the video for the free somatic starter kit up here, or you can get it in the link in the description. If you like this video, give it a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the future.